A Dutch corporation exists that is roughly 4 centuries old with staggering valuations. Combine Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Saudi Aramco together, their collective market capitalization still falls short of this ancient enterprise's worth. When discussing capitalism, wealth creation, and established fortunes, names like Rothschild or Rockefeller typically surface. We seldom mention this discreet Dutch organization that proved revolutionary. They created the world's first corporation, initial stock market, and inaugural IPO. This enterprise remains operational today. This is the extraordinary story of the Dutch East India Company and the House of Orange, a dynasty that constructed a blueprint for modern capitalism. Travel back to 1580. Revolutionary developments unfold across the Iberian Peninsula. Spain assumes control over Portugal through personal union. 2 global powers merge under a single monarchy. Together, Spain and Portugal control massive territories across Asia, Africa, and the Americas. The Dutch viewed this as an existential threat. They were technically Spanish territory at this point, but were fighting a brutal 80-year war for independence. The Dutch suddenly faced substantially larger enemies controlling vast resources and commercial routes. They understood they could not compete through military strength alone, so they built a novel weapon: private capital organized at an unprecedented magnitude. In 1602, 7 private trading companies merged into what became the VOC, or the Dutch East India Company. It was named the Dutch East India Company because they were Dutch and conducted the majority of trading with the East Indies, a region comprising modern Indonesia, Malaysia, and surrounding areas. The merger united competing merchants who had been lowering prices through competition. Now combined, they could coordinate tactics, combine resources, and present a unified front against Portuguese and Spanish rivals. On the surface, it appears like a merchant company, but underneath, it was an instrument of economic warfare. It owned armed ships, private armies, and fortresses across various global positions. The most revolutionary element was its shares. For the first time, ordinary Dutch people could fund imperial expansion and benefit from it. Across Republic, House of Orange watched all this unfold. This house was among the most prominent dynasties at the time, descended from German nobility with extensive land ownership, but they held no kingdoms. Their nobility did not matter significantly in this new system where money spoke louder than bloodlines. Amsterdam's wealthy desired stronger republican governance that would safeguard their commercial interests. Spain wanted the dynasty destroyed entirely. The House of Orange held no territory to rule, no mines to exploit, and no traditional source of royal authority. During the collapse of the old feudal order, the House of Orange faced a choice: fade into irrelevance or adapt to this new world of commerce and capital. House of Orange did not run VOC directly, but they helped fund it from the beginning. More importantly, they tied their future to it, recognizing that this new commercial empire would determine who held authority in the Dutch Republic. By aligning with commercial class rather than opposing it, they ensured their survival. Decades later, descendants of the House of Orange served as presidents of both the VOC and the West India Company, effectively becoming among the most powerful men in the country and Europe. But now their authority flowed from capital rather than crowns. VOC did not function like business, it operated like a sovereign nation. At its height, Dutch East India Company was valued at more than $7.9 trillion in today's money. The most valuable company globally today is Nvidia, which is currently half of that valuation. VOC at its peak was worth more than the GDP of Japan today. During VOC's golden period from the early 1600s to the mid-1700s, over 1 million people left the Netherlands bound for Asia. They were employees of a mega corporation, working under contracts that bound them for years. The success of the VOC rested on 3 pillars: a powerful state charter, Amsterdam's financial wealth, and strategic backing of the House of Orange. A charter carried more authority than a typical trade license. It came with complete control over Dutch trade in Asia, but the company could also sign international treaties, raise armies, capture territories, and even govern entire colonies. With nearly 150 merchant ships, around 50,000 employees, and its own private force of 10,000 soldiers, VOC operated like a state with sails. In 1619, they captured Jakarta and designated it Batavia. It became the center of gravity in Asia. But this scale of operation required serious money. In August 1602, the Dutch East India Company opened its doors to the public. For the first time in human history, the company offered its future to ordinary people through the world's first ever initial public offering. Behind VOC stood the same wealthy people who governed Dutch cities and maintained money flowing back into Amsterdam's markets and banks. Domestically, political winds were unstable. Abroad, Habsburg Spain still considered Dutch independence a crime. The House of Orange held no serfs, no silver mines, and no divine right. But they had a winning idea: rule through the market, not through the crown. They decided to establish an entirely new power base through financial institutions that made risk predictable. At core were permanent shares. For the first time, ownership in a global enterprise could be transferred freely. This gave birth to the world's first secondary market, the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. Innovations did not stop there. Traders created speculation and arbitrage, hedging, and all tools Wall Street uses today. VOC shares rose from an index value of 100 in 1602 to roughly 1,000 in the 1720s, reflecting an astonishing tenfold increase. Building global empire on public money came with risk. What if the ship sank? What if trade collapsed? Dutch answered that fear with limited liability. If ships sank or trade route collapsed, investors only lost what they invested. Their personal properties stayed safe. It is a concept we still use today to separate personal assets from business liabilities. Dutch financial influence did not remain confined to the Netherlands. It quickly crossed borders, reshaping Britain and later America, carried by ideas, institutions, and one man, William of Orange. In 1688, England faced a political crisis. King James II had lost the trust of Parliament. British leaders turned to James's daughter Mary, who was married to William of Orange. He sailed to England with troops and a mindset shaped by the Dutch Republic. This resulted in the Glorious Revolution. During William's reign, England launched the Bank of England, created public credit, introduced government bonds, and funded wars through capital markets. These were Dutch innovations now written into British law. The story extends further. In 1609, a Dutch ship reached the harbor we now call New York City. In 1624, the Dutch West India Company founded New Amsterdam at the southern tip of Manhattan. In 1664, the British assumed control and renamed it New York, but they preserved much of the Dutch structure because it functioned. By the late 1700s, cracks began appearing. Power had scaled rapidly, but oversight failed to keep pace. Corruption infiltrated. Internal divisions deepened. With rising military costs and competition from Britain and France, VOC found itself surrounded. By 1795, the Dutch government stepped in to nationalize the company. Founded in 1602 with a 21-year trade monopoly in Asia, it concluded in 1796. Although the empire collapsed, its architecture of power persisted. VOC's ideas transformed into modern finance, legal structures, and multinational models we still rely on today. Today, the Netherlands is no longer a seafaring empire, but it is a financial empire. It ranks very high on foreign direct investments, both inward with over $4.3 trillion and outward with $5.2 trillion. Dutch holdings abroad now exceed $3.5 trillion, an astonishing footprint for a country with fewer people than California. Behind this enormous network of capital, one family still casts a long shadow: the House of Orange-Nassau. They still reign. Crowns may be ceremonial, but their connections are not symbolic. From defense to energy to corporate governance, the royal family remains deeply tied to Dutch industry. In 1907, Royal Dutch merged with Shell Transport to form Royal Dutch Shell, dominating the global energy sector for over a century. Merchants and businessmen tied with VOC have descendants now holding stakes in modern corporate giants. When we think of capitalism, we often think of names like Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and J.P. Morgan. But those figures did not invent the model, they just followed it. Long before them was the House of Orange, largely responsible for building the capitalist blueprint. They engineered a system where war, trade, and finance moved together. From the rise of VOC to the reign of Royal Dutch Shell, we see a pattern. Power and capital are always inseparable. House of Orange realized that capital could be more potent than crowns. The Netherlands may no longer rule the seas, but Dutch capital now moves across borders with more influence than fleets ever could. The story of how one dynasty transformed from feudal nobility into architects of modern capitalism how they weaponized private capital to challenge empires, and how their innovations still shape every stock trade and corporate structure today reveals invisible machinery that runs our world. If this investigation into origins of modern finance resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to understand where capitalism truly began, and subscribe for more explorations into systems and families that built the world we live in.